Hey there, this is Mr. Kleppe, and I want to talk to you about gravity for a second. Now, ever since Einstein, we've had a different view of gravity. Newton knew how it worked, he didn't know why it worked. And Einstein was the one that came up with an explanation. And that explanation is that space and time are like a fabric. And that fabric, if there's nothing there, then it doesn't really have any attraction, right? Things just fly by and nothing really happens to them. But eventually, as you start to add more material, it starts to create a warping of space and time. And that warping will start to create places where material starts to gather. Now, once material starts to gather, the mass of that objects start to create a central gravity well. So now, right now, there's not a lot of attraction between them, but you can kind of see clumping starting to happen in the center. As things float by, things are attracted, and that attraction has to do with the fabric itself. The fabric of space and time is being warped. And it's as more and more material gathers in the gravity well, then the gravity well gets bigger, and it makes it easier for the gravity to attract things that are flying by. And eventually you have things that are orbiting, or else they're just crashing in. And then eventually you start adding more massive objects. Sorry here. And so now gravity is really starting to have an impact on the fabric of space-time, and things that go by, they are just naturally going to be pulled into the gravity well and create more mass for the object. More mass means that more objects are going to fall in there, and so it creates a bigger and deeper gravity well until eventually you get to a point where no matter what happens, if something comes within the gravitational attraction of the object, it's gonna eventually end up being in the gravity well. Now, if the speed's just right, then it can rotate around pretty much forever. But if it's not going fast enough, or if it's too close, then it's gonna end up falling in. And then sometimes you have massive objects. And those massive objects, they really warp space and time. And now when things go by, they don't have a choice. They end up eventually being pulled in. They can orbit around for a while. Now, this isn't an exact explanation because, well, things have friction here on my space-time fabric floor. But in space, it's possible for things just to float around and go by all the time for billions of years if they're in just the right place and they have just the right speed. I'm trying to make that happen. Then you get an orbit. And that is how gravity works, the warping of space-time.